Come in out of the cold. Leave the world behind you just for a while. Let the door close softly behind you, sealing out the wind, sealing out the rain, sealing out everything but this moment, right here, right now. Tonight you are a traveler, not rushing anywhere, not needing to be anywhere, just here, settled into a deep, cushioned seat beneath a canopy of curved glass, high above the world, moving gently through the great Canadian Rockies. Pull the blanket a little higher over your shoulders now. Feel its weight. Feel how it holds you, the way a mother might hold a child on the coldest night of the year. Outside, the mountains are washed in rain and mist and deepening twilight. But you are warm, you are safe, you are cocooned in amber light, in soft cushions, in the quiet hum of a journey that asks nothing of you. Let your eyes grow heavy, let your breath grow slow. We begin now. The train moves like something ancient and patient, climbing higher into the mountains with a steady, unhurried breath. Somewhere far ahead, the engine hums a low, soft note, more felt than heard, a heartbeat carrying you upward through stone and cloud. You are seated beneath the great glass dome, and above you, rain falls in silver sheets, tracing long, wandering rivers down the curved panes. Each droplet catches the fading light for just a moment before sliding into the next, and the next, an endless soft cascade that asks for nothing but your quiet attention. Beyond the glass, the Fraser Canyon opens itself to you, vast and dark and dressed in mist. The cliffs rise on either side like the walls of some forgotten cathedral, their granite faces slick and gleaming, streaked black with rain. Far below, hidden in shadow, the river moves with a power that hums up through the very floor of the carriage, a low and constant murmur, ancient and unbothered by time. You do not need to understand it. You only need to watch it. Notice how the rain seems to have its own rhythm out there. It comes in long, sweeping breaths, sheeting sideways across the canyon walls, then softening for a moment into a gentle drizzle, only to gather itself again into another silver curtain. It has been falling like this for hours, perhaps for days. It does not tire. It does not hurry, and you do not hurry either. Here inside, everything is different. Everything is soft. The seat beneath you has been shaped by decades of quiet comfort. Deep cushions the color of aged wine, warmed faintly by the small brass heater humming somewhere near your feet. A steaming cup rests on the little wooden table beside you, tea perhaps, or rich hot chocolate, its fragrant steam curling upward in lazy spirals before dissolving into the warm air. Lift the cup now if you like. Feel the warmth seep into your palms, spreading slowly up through your wrists, your arms, settling into your chest like a held breath finally released. Outside, the temperature has dropped with the coming of night, the rain turning colder, sharper, tapping now against the dome glass in a rhythm almost like fingers, patient and searching. But it cannot reach you. Nothing out there can reach you. You are perfectly warm inside. The forest outside has changed as the train has climbed. The broad valley pines giving way to towering columns of spruce and fir. Their dark green branches bowed low with the weight of rain, needles glistening like strings of scattered glass beads. Mist threads between the trunks in slow, silver ribbons, rising from the wet earth, curling upward to meet the heavier cloud that presses low against the mountain peaks. Somewhere out there, a hawk might be sheltering beneath a rocky overhang, feathers damp, waiting patiently for the rain to pass. A deer might be standing motionless beneath a canopy of branches, breath rising in pale clouds, still and watchful in the deepening blue of evening. The whole mountain seems to be holding its breath alongside you, waiting, listening, safe within its own ancient patience. And you too are safe, cocooned in warmth, wrapped in the low golden light of the carriage lamps, which flicker faintly gold against the deepening indigo of the storm outside. Let your shoulders soften now. Let them sink deeper into the cushions behind you. The train presses on, following its rails higher into the pass, past great cliffs where waterfalls have swollen with the rain, pouring down in wide, thundering ribbons of white, only to vanish into the canyon's deep shadow. You watch one such waterfall now, cascading from some hidden ledge far above, its roar a distant hush by the time it reaches your ears, softened by distance, softened by glass, softened by the warm stillness that surrounds you. There is something deeply comforting in watching such power from a place of such safety. The rain that could soak you to the bone out there merely paints soft, shifting patterns on the glass above your head. The wind that howls through the canyon reaches you only as a low, distant murmur, a lullaby sung by the mountain itself. Your eyelids grow heavier with each passing mile. The gentle sway of the carriage, side to side, rocks you the way a cradle might rock an infant to sleep. The rhythmic clatter of wheels on rail beneath you, soft and distant, a heartbeat of iron and steam, carries you forward without any need for your own effort. You need not keep watch. You need not stay alert. The mountains will still be there when you drift, and the rain will still be falling, and the train will still be climbing, faithful and steady, long after your eyes have closed. Outside, true darkness is beginning to settle over the canyon, the last traces of gray twilight sinking behind the ridgeline, and the rain continues without pause, without complaint, a soft and endless benediction upon the stone and the pine and the rushing water far below. But here, inside, the lamps glow amber and low. The tea is still warm in your hands. The blanket is still heavy on your shoulders. And you are still here, safe, unhurried, cradled by iron and glass and quiet mountain rain, moving ever higher into the vast and sleeping heart of the Rockies. Let your mind drift now just a little further back in time, long before your journey tonight, before the great glass dome carried travelers softly through these mountains. This same pass echoed with a different kind of train, older, rougher, built by hands that bled into the stone, laid rail by rail through canyons that did not welcome them easily. The old railway workers, the pioneers who carved these lines through granite and pine a century and more ago, they had their own stories to tell. Stories passed from one weathered voice to another, around campfires much smaller and rougher than the one warming you now, but campfires all the same, casting their same soft amber light against the dark. They spoke, in hushed and reverent tones, of the ghost trains. It is said that on certain nights, when the fog lay thick in the valleys and the rain came down in that particular way, soft and silver and endless, travelers moving through the high passes would hear a whistle, distant, mournful, beautiful, a sound with no visible source, drifting down from some unseen bend in the tracks ahead. Some said it was merely wind moving through the canyon walls, shaped by stone into something that only sounded like a train. But the old pioneers, the trappers, the lonely track walkers who spent their long winters alone in these mountains, they believed something gentler. They believed the whistle belonged to travelers who had once passed this way and never quite finished their journey. Not troubled souls, not fearful ones, simply travelers who loved these mountains so completely that some small, warm part of them chose to remain. And so the legend grew, softened by years of retelling, until it became less a ghost story and more something like a lullaby. It was said the ghost trains appeared only to help. Lost trappers, caught in sudden mountain storms, spoke of seeing a faint light glowing far ahead through blinding snow or driving rain. A warm gold glow like a lantern swaying gently in the dark. They would follow it, cold and exhausted, and always, it would lead them safely to a cabin, a switch house, a place of shelter, before fading quietly into the mist behind them. Imagine one such traveler now, if you like, a young surveyor, perhaps decades ago, caught out after dusk with rain turning to sleep, his lantern sputtering low, his hands numb with cold. Imagine the moment he first hears it, that far-off whistle, warm and low, carried on the wind from somewhere up the pass. Imagine the relief that floods through his chilled body, the way his shoulders loosen, the way his frightened heart begins slowly to settle. He is not afraid of the sound. He welcomes it. He follows the sound the way you might follow the smell of wood smoke on a winter evening, trusting it completely, letting it guide his tired feet through the dark and difficult path. And in time, just as the old stories promised, a light appears ahead. A cabin window, glowing gold against the black mountain night. Warmth, safety, rest. That is the heart of the old legend, really. Not fear, but comfort. A reminder passed down through generations of mountain folk that even in the coldest, darkest places, something gentle watches over the lost and the weary, guiding them home. The old track workers had other tales too, softer and smaller, meant for quiet winter evenings. They spoke of a particular bend in the canyon, not far from where your own train travels tonight, where the fog gathers so thickly some mornings that it seems to hum with its own quiet music. They called it the Singing Bend, and they said if you stood there at dawn, just as the mist began to lift, you could hear something like distant voices, laughter perhaps, or an old work song carried on the cold morning air. No one claimed to be frightened by it. It was simply part of the mountain, they said, part of its long memory. The rock and pine here had witnessed so many seasons, so many travelers, so much labor and hope and homesickness, that perhaps it had simply learned to hum a little of it back on the right kind of morning in the right kind of fog. You might imagine now, as your own train continues its climb through the darkening canyon, that somewhere out there in the rain and the mist, an old ghost light flickers faintly between the trees. Not something to fear, only something old, something patient, something that has watched over travelers on this mountain pass for longer than anyone alive can remember. Perhaps it watches over you too, tonight. Perhaps that is part of why you feel so safe here, so unhurried, so gently held by the deep cushions and warm amber light of this carriage, even as the rain continues to fall in heavy silver sheets against the glass above your head. The old stories always end the same way, really. The lost traveler finds shelter. The frightened heart finds rest. The mountain, vast and dark and endless, reveals itself in the end to be not cruel, but watchful. Not cold, but quietly, deeply protective of those who move through it with respect and humility. Let that thought settle over you now, like a second blanket, soft and warm. You are not alone out here in this vast mountain darkness. You never really were. The old trains still whisper somewhere in the folds of these hills, and their whisper is not a warning. It is a lullaby. Rest now just a little more. Let your breathing slow further, matching the steady, patient rhythm of wheels on rail, of rain on glass, of an old mountain settling once more into its long and peaceful sleep. Let the train fade for a moment now, far into the misty distance. Picture instead a small log cabin, tucked deep into a fold of the mountains, half hidden among towering cedars whose branches hang heavy and dripping with the evening's rain. A thin curl of smoke rises from its stone chimney, bending softly sideways in the wind before dissolving into the low gray clouds above. This is the home of the park's warden, the lone track inspector who watches over this quiet stretch of railway switch deep in the wilderness, miles from the nearest town, miles from another living soul. Tonight, like most nights, he is entirely alone. And tonight, like most nights, he would not wish it any other way. Imagine him now, settling into an old wooden chair beside the stove, its cast iron surface ticking softly as it warms. A pot of stew simmers there, thick with root vegetables and slow-cooked venison, filling the small cabin with a rich, earthy fragrance that mingles with the sharper scent of cedar smoke curling from the fire beside it. He has lived out here for many winters now, long enough that the silence no longer feels empty to him, long enough that he has learned to hear the mountain the way others might hear music, each sound a note in some vast, unhurried symphony. The rain against the roof, the wind moving low through the cedar boughs, the occasional distant call of an owl, settling somewhere in the darkness beyond his small, glowing window. He does not feel lonely here. He feels, if anything, quite the opposite. Held, cradled by the vastness around him, much the way you are held now by the blanket across your shoulders, the warm cup in your hands, the soft amber light surrounding you. Outside his small cabin window, the rain continues its steady percussion against the dense canopy of cedar and fir, a sound he has come to know as intimately as his own heartbeat. Somewhere above the tree line, mist rolls low and thick across the ridge, erasing the mountain peaks entirely, leaving only a soft gray nothingness where jagged granite usually stands. He rises now, slowly, unhurried, and moves to check the small stove, adding one more length of split cedar to the flame. The wood catches quickly, crackling and hissing where the rain-dampened bark meets the heat, sending up a fresh curl of fragrant smoke that fills the small cabin with warmth. He ladles a small portion of the stew into a worn tin bowl, steam rising thick and fragrant into the cool cabin air. He eats slowly, savoring each spoonful, listening all the while to the rain outside, to the low creak of old timber settling in the cold, to the profound and total silence beneath it all, the silence of a wilderness untouched by roads or towns or hurried footsteps. There is a particular kind of peace that comes only from solitude such as this, not the anxious quiet of a city at rest, but something deeper, something ancient, the quiet of a place that has always been quiet, long before any human hands built a cabin here, and will remain quiet long after. He thinks, sometimes, of the old stories, the ones about ghost trains and gentle guiding lights, and he smiles faintly into his stew. He has never seen such a light himself, not truly, but he understands why the old pioneers believed in it. Out here, alone with the mountain, it is easy to feel watched over. Easy to feel that something vast and patient surrounds you, wishing you well, asking nothing of you but your quiet presence. He finishes his meal and sets the bowl aside, rising to bank the fire for the long night ahead. The cabin is small, humble, its log walls thick enough to hold the warmth close, its single window fogged now with condensation, blurring the dark forest beyond into soft, indistinct shapes of green and gray and black. He settles at last into his narrow bed, a quilt worn soft with age pulled up over his shoulders, listening to the rain, still falling, still steady, still utterly unbothered by the passing of the hours. Somewhere out there, his railway switch waits patiently in the dark, rain sheeting off its iron surface, ready for the next train that may pass this way tomorrow or the day after, or whenever the mountain sees fit to send one. He is not anxious for that arrival. There is no need to rush out here. Time moves differently in this small cedar cabin, slower, gentler, marked not by clocks but by the position of the fire's embers, the deepening color of the night sky, the soft, steady rhythm of rain against cedar shingles above his head. You might imagine now that you too are settling into such a bed, that the blanket over your own shoulders carries some of that same deep wilderness quiet, that same sense of being entirely, safely alone with the vast and patient world outside, and entirely warmly protected from it all the same. The lone warden's breathing slows. His eyes grow heavy. The fire burns low and gold beside him, casting long, gentle shadows across the timber walls and outside. The rain continues to fall softly, endlessly, upon a mountain that holds him and holds you in the same quiet, ancient embrace. Let your own eyes rest now, just as his have. Let the warmth around you settle deeper into your bones. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. Nothing else you need to do. Only this. Only rest. Slowly now, the train begins to slow its pace. You feel it first in the gentle shift of your own weight, a soft deceleration, wheels easing their rhythm against the rail, the distant engine quieting its steady hum to something softer, something almost like a sigh. Outside, through the rain-streaked dome glass, lights begin to appear, scattered at first, then gathering warm gold windows glowing through the mist like a constellation come down to rest among the trees. The great mountain lodge rises before you now, its timber walls dark and ancient, its many windows glowing amber against the deepening night, rain sheeting steadily down its steep-pitched roof and pooling softly along wide, covered verandas. This is the end of tonight's journey, a grand and historic resort tucked deep in the folds of the Rockies, sheltered by towering pine and endless stone. You step down from the train slowly, unhurried, and the cold night air touches your face only briefly, only long enough to remind you how precious the warmth ahead truly is. A soft-spoken attendant guides you beneath the wide, sheltering eaves, rain drumming a steady rhythm above your heads, until you reach the great oak doors of the lodge, and beyond them, warmth floods out to meet you like an old, familiar friend. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of cedar smoke and old timber, of melted wax and something faintly sweet, mulled spice perhaps, lingering from the grand hearth that dominates the lobby, its flames tall and golden, crackling steadily against a wall of ancient river stone. You are led up a wide, creaking staircase, past windows where rain continues its steady percussion against old glass, until you reach your room. And here, At last, is the place where tonight's journey quietly comes to rest. A massive stone hearth dominates one wall, already lit, already glowing, casting long amber shadows across timber beams overhead. Before it stands a bed piled high, impossibly high, with goose-down comforters, thick and soft as fallen snow, waiting to receive you. You cross the room slowly, feeling the old wooden floor solid and warm beneath you, and you sit, finally, on the edge of that vast and welcoming bed. Outside your window, rain continues to fall against the log walls in a steady, thrumming rhythm, soft and constant, a lullaby written by the mountain itself. Let yourself sink now, fully, into the comforters beneath you. Feel how they rise around your body, warm and weightless, holding you the way deep snow might hold a fallen leaf, gently, completely, without any effort required of you at all. The fire beside you continues its low, steady conversation, with settling, embers glowing, casting soft, moving light across the ceiling beams above your closing eyes. There is nothing left to do now, nowhere left to travel. Only this warm, deep stillness, only this vast and gentle bed, only the steady percussion of rain against ancient timber walls, holding you exactly as it has held countless weary travelers before you. You are perfectly warm inside, perfectly safe, perfectly still. Somewhere far below, the old train rests quietly on its tracks, its long journey through misty canyons complete for tonight. Somewhere deep in the wilderness, the lone warden sleeps soundly in his small cedar cabin, fire banked low, rain still falling gently on his roof. And somewhere in the folds of these ancient mountains, old ghost lights may still flicker faintly through the fog, watching over all who rest here tonight. And you, wrapped in warmth, cocooned in down and firelight, are part of that same quiet story now, safe, held, complete. Let your breathing settle fully into the rhythm of the rain outside, slow, steady, endless. Let your body sink one final time into the softness beneath you. The rain continues, soft and endless, against the old timber walls. The fire burns low now, embers glowing amber in the quiet dark, casting the last gentle shadows across the ceiling beams above you. There is nothing left to hold on to, nothing left to think about, only the deep, weightless comfort of down and warmth and stillness surrounding you completely. Somewhere far away, the mountains stand in silence, rain sheeting quietly down granite cliffs, rivers rushing unseen through darkened canyons. The old train rests, the lone cabin sleeps, and you, here, wrapped in warmth, are held just as gently, just as completely. You need not wake for any of it. You need not remember it in the morning. Only feel it now, this deep and total safety, this soft and endless comfort, carrying you gently away from thought, away from waking, into something slower, deeper, kinder. Sleep now. Let the mountain hold you. Let the rain sing you further down, further under, into warmth, into stillness, into rest. You are safe. You are warm. You are home.